In today's episode, we sit down with entrepreneur Michael Huynh, founder of the Seattle area macaron company Macadons. Michael's story isn't just about desserts. It's about redefining what success can look like when you grow up believing stability means one thing and discover you're wired for something entirely different. You'll hear how the son of Vietnamese refugees went from a string of jobs and uncertainty about his future to building a business that started as a simple holiday gift for friends. Along the way, Michael shares what it looks like to pursue excellence without losing your humanity. Choosing people over efficiency, quality over scale, and curiosity over certainty. If you've ever wondered what it looks like to build a company while still figuring yourself out, this conversation will give you a refreshingly honest look behind the scenes.
Welcome to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Work, hosted by Dan T. Rogers. This show invites you into conversations that go deeper than job titles and hustle. It's about rethinking what work is for and how we can design it to serve our lives, rather than the other way around. Here, we'll talk with leaders, makers, and thinkers who are doing more than earning a paycheck. They're getting paid to practice life.
Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here in your beautiful office.
Yeah. I truth be told, I was going to drop a virtual background, but we're just going to go. We're going to go. But it is a great office. It looks really familiar. It turns out we have very similar taste, apparently. But yeah, that's good. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm sort of hopeful that folks have heard your previous interview on the podcast, but maybe they haven't. And even if they have, maybe it's a good reminder. So maybe tell, to whatever sort of level you want to share, tell us a little bit about yourself and, how you got to 2025.
Well, happy to share any and all information. You just gotta prompt me for whatever you want to hear.
Yeah.
How did I get to 2025? You want the whole life story, or this is the business story?
I think whatever part that you want to share, because I think, we obviously know each other a little bit. My bet is there will be parallels in the personal stuff that you do, or if you choose to share it, that will be valuable for folks. But I also want you to be comfortable. So whatever you want to share in terms of a lifeline. Yeah.
Comfortable sharing everything. I just don't know how many days you have set aside for this conversation. So I guess I'll just kind of high level overview.
That's great.
Born in Yakima, Washington. I don't know if you knew that.
I
We
did
just
know
talked
that.
about this, but August 8th of 1985. Parents were refugees from Vietnam, so they left Vietnam in like the early 80s. My sister was born in Thailand at one of the refugee camps there, because that's where they escaped to. That was in 82. And then my brother was born in 84 in Cambodia. Oh no, Philippines, in the Philippines. And then I was born in 85 in Yakima. So they made their trek from Vietnam to the US, and that's where we landed. Yeah. Interesting childhood growing up with immigrant parents that came over here to give us a better life. And it's interesting that I ended up where I did, because entrepreneurship was never in the cards for me. It was never anything that my parents ever suggested or wanted us to do. It was just always go to school, get a good job, and go work for somebody until you die.
Yeah. So I don't want to, I'm going to trust my own attention on this. So how long were you in Yakima for?
Oh, only 4 years. I don't really have too much of a memory of it.
Okay. And then did you guys move to the west side then, or what after Yakima, where did you?
Basically Seattle my whole life, primarily like White Center. Yeah, White Center most of the time.
Yeah. And then college, no college?
I struggled with that throughout school. Me being the youngest of three, very highly intelligent, motivated siblings that did really well in school. I was not as good in school.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as motivated learning about things that I was not interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so school was always a struggle for me. And I remember I was always envious of, kids in high school that were like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor or an accountant or a pharmacist. And I was like,
Yep.
I don't know what the hell I want to do after school. Like, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to choose?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, no college really. After high school, I did Running
Mm-hmm.
Start for 2 years because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a great high school experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so 2 years of Running Start at South Seattle Community College, and then like another 6 years at South Seattle Community College until I got my associate's degree.
Uh-huh.
It was a lot of just bouncing around, doing different things,
Sure.
picking up classes, dropping out of classes, just lost.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think you know, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I live a life that I've heard a lot of different stories, and there aren't a lot of stories like what you've shared by people that get the microphone frequently, but like I've heard that story. I would say it mirrors my personal story much closer than not. So I don't think it's all that uncommon. I think it's maybe sort of uncommon for people to share it or for a chance for it to get shared. But I don't. I think we're probably in fairly good company. I mean, it's like I've told people I'm like, well, I attended that university for more years than I have credits for. So yeah. All right. So uh you get out of Seattle Community College and you're doing some work. How did the idea of Macadons sort of where did that come from? How do we go from what's the linkage between community college and Macadons?
Uh, Again, still no linkage. 6 years
Hmm.
of community college. I was
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
like mid 20s.
Hmm.
Still didn't know what I wanted to do. Working
Hmm.
a ton of just different jobs from
Hmm.
like auto mechanics to restaurants, a lot of like restaurant jobs,
Hmm.
to even being a manicurist at one point because my mom wanted to open up a nail salon when she temporarily got laid off from Boeing and then she got
Hmm.
rehired. And then I had
Hmm.
my manicurist license and didn't do anything with it.
Uh-huh.
It has now expired, so I'm not going to work on your nails.
All right. All right.
Um, and then let's see, 2011,
Mm-hmm.
I got a job at Boeing,
Mm-hmm.
just an entry level manufacturing job.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was it. I was like, cool. Like my parents are happy that I finally got something stable. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna work here for 40 years and then
Mm-hmm.
retire. And I thought that was life for me.
Mm-hmm.
But how Macadon started was in 2013. Desserts are trendy and different trends happen all the time. Macarons have been around forever,
Mm-hmm.
but macarons became very popular on social media around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and my co-founder, her name's Donna, that's why it's called Macadons,
Mm-hmm.
um, made macarons for all of our friends for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And just because of that, it started to blow up. We grew organically in
Mm-hmm.
2014, following year.
Mm-hmm.
We applied to get a business license, and then, yeah, the businesses kind of went the direction that I went, and it had its own journey. We never had a business plan or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to make sure, and I know we've sort of talked about it before, but just for folks listening, like, so it was really more of a like a holiday project, right? And then obviously we're here, so it turned into something more. So as best you can remember, sort of what was where did it go from? And I want to use whatever the right word. I think it's actually really, really cool when people like you do stuff like that at the holidays or whatever. When somebody like does and makes stuff, and sends it out. So whatever that really awesome intention was, whatever the right word for that is, to like actually maybe we could do this whether it was full time or for financially or whatever those right words are. So what was that? What can you remember what that was or what that was like?
Yeah. Well, it was primarily Donna. me being the loving, supportive boyfriend that I am. Uh,
That's certainly how she would tell it, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sure at this point. Helping out on nights and weekends, like whatever
Uh-huh.
free time that we had, because we were both working our full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And just fulfilling orders. And then, the more busy it got, the more time that
Mhm.
we would have to set aside to get it done. And they kind of just took over all of our free time. Yeah, it was just a side hustle for so long, which
What, what
I
what sort of response did you get from the folks that you sent it to, though?
I think people are just really excited about it because it was this like new and trendy thing, and there
Hmm.
weren't a lot of places where you can get macarons, especially in Seattle
Hmm.
at the time. So responses were good. People were excited, but
Hmm.
it took a while for us to like perfect our recipe. And it was like constant getting feedback and asking for like honest feedback. Because, like if you
Hmm.
just ask somebody like, oh, what do you think about this? Or I'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
it's great. And then never eat it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So it was getting honest feedback from like friends and family and other people that were ordering, and just like continuously improving our process and improving our recipe.
Hmm.
And we did that for like, a few years before we like really settled down and into a recipe that we liked, with the
Hmm.
texture and the taste and the sweetness
Hmm.
level. And I think that worked out to our advantage, because I think
Hmm.
too often people get excited about something that they make and then they just like launch right away. And then like once you're like fully committed, it's really, and
Hmm.
you're like serving a product, it's really hard to change it because people
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
expecting a certain thing. So yeah, it was a side hustle for 3 years until 2017 was
Yeah.
when I quit my job at Boeing.
I'd love for you to try to tell the story about when we first met. You gave me a great analogy of a chocolate chip cookie. And I think that sort of ties into what you're just talking about product launch and, being thoughtful and intentional and all that. So maybe share that part as well, because I think this has massive application, massive application. Yeah. So tell us about how that, how that,
Yeah, the analogy about the chocolate chip cookie, right? Like
yeah.
when I tell you to think about a chocolate chip cookie, I have no idea what you're thinking about. Are you thinking about like Chips Ahoy, or are you thinking about the cookie at Metropolitan Market? Like there's so
Mhm.
much range there. And
Uh-huh.
to its core, like, yeah, it's a chocolate chip cookie, but like, and the ingredients are typically the same, maybe not in a Chips Ahoy one, but
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
knows like a chocolate chip cookie. But like
Yeah.
it can vary so much in the experience that you're having, right? It could be thin and crispy, it could be warm and chewy. It could be thick. It could have chocolate chunks in there as a chips. Like there's so many different ways to enjoy it. And I feel like it's the same way with macarons, right? Like
Mhm.
we make them the way that we enjoy them. And after
Mhm.
getting feedback from a lot of people, like that's what we think most people
Mhm.
like.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that other people are doing it wrong. Everybody's just doing it the way that they're doing it, and that's their
Mhm.
product.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we're happy with the product that we have, and it's just
Well,
different.
thank you for sharing that. I mean, the reason why I wanted you to share that is, I mean, when you told me, I was just like, that's wildly profound and has way bigger application than just cookies or product. Like, I mean, just I think it applies to life. It's like, hey, there isn't really, on my silly little computer here, it says closer to right. There isn't a right way. There's just a way for you to choose to do it. And I really appreciated that you did that. And then I am going to now tell the story that you've had to sit through too many times. But I don't particularly care for Macrons. I won't go. It's not my story, but it's just I didn't. And when we met each other, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to eat one of these things and pretend I like it. But because you followed your own process on that, I genuinely was blown away. And now I'm a massive fan because you have your style. And it's what the things are supposed to be. It's what yours actually taste and have the texture of what it looks like. So anyway, I don't want to turn this into a total full-blown infomercial, but I think there's a lot there to be said. There's a lot there to be said for folks. There you go. Look at that. Look at
Brought
that.
you some
Yeah.
gifts,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
little mini ones too.
Yeah, there you go. So I think that is there's something there. So before we move on from, sort of moving into full time, just I have no idea where we're going here, but I'm going to ask the question because it came through. Can you think of other places where you've sort of taken that same approach? And if you did, what was that all about? How did it work out, or where did that look like?
The same approach in what
Well,
way?
so I think you said it beautifully, so I'm gonna attempt to paraphrase it and butcher it a little bit. But like you said, hey, like, and I'm gonna stick with the chocolate chip cookie, right? So like, hey, we're gonna do a chocolate chip cookie here, but there's not a right way to do this, right? I'm gonna I'm gonna allow myself sort of the luxury of time and experimenting to find what I like, and then we're gonna lean into that. So have you done that in other places in your life? And if so, tell us about it.
I've never thought about that, but thank you for queuing that up. And it did spark some ideas.
Hmm.
I think in a lot of my life, especially work life,
Hmm.
I would go into a job and they would teach me how to do it, and I would learn how to do it, and I would do it the way that they told me to do it.
Hmm.
But then over time, I would figure out ways to do it easier and do it faster and do it
Hmm.
better.
Hmm.
And specifically, like in all my jobs, but like specifically at Boeing,
Hmm.
it sort of caused a lot of problems. And I don't know the reason why. It was just like they, and it's Boeing, right? We're making airplane parts, and you got to do them to spec, right? You
Yeah.
can't mess it up. And
Yeah.
so I remember that I figured out what I needed to do.
Hmm.
And then I figured out how to do it faster without sacrificing quality. And I
Yeah.
learned how to do it more efficiently without
Yeah.
sacrificing quality.
Yeah.
And then and then I was just getting shit from everybody like, oh, well, why are you doing it like that? That's not how we trained you to do it. I was like, well, is there anything wrong with the way that I'm doing it? Because you
Hmm.
guys are like busting your ass, hurting yourself,
Yeah.
doing it the way that it's always been done.
Hmm.
And now I'm doing it this better way
Hmm.
where it's easier and it's faster. And now you're trying to like prevent me from doing that. And what's the reason?
Hmm.
Well, oh yeah, we just don't want you to mess up the quality. Well, check the quality. Like I have no quality issues. Like I'm doing
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
spec. Yeah. So yeah, it was that's just that what came to mind when you asked that question.
Yeah. And I don't mind using the names. I mean, I think the blessing and curse of corporate America is that would be the overwhelming response that you would get in virtually any, probably most any corporation, public or private. Folks like to know how things happen, right? They're more concerned with the illusion of control than, maybe effectiveness or change or anything like that. So one thing I want to throw out there, because I heard this clearly, and I'm sure other folks do, but I want to make sure people hear it because I think it's a key, and I think it's key in both the Macron what would become the Macron that would become a Macadon, and in the Boeing story, there is a competency piece that you actually strove for first. You demonstrated competency first before walking in and going, "Oh, I could do this all better." It's like, no, let me ace the test the way that you say it's supposed to be. Then from that level of understanding, then we look to do things differently. And I think, and I'm not just young people, but I think people are very quick to skip what I think is a vital step because what you don't know what you're improving if you don't know what it is. But it's unfortunate it didn't go the way it did in the corporate world, but it also gives you massive credibility if you want to make the change when you can demonstrate that like you know how to do it, right? So I think it's not surprising to me in both cases that you did that first, right? But I think, if you want to iterate, it's probably good to figure out current condition and like what do we think we're doing to start, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we're gonna just take this organically. So, and this this is not a gotcha question. So, how well or not are you embracing that now as a leader inside of your own organization, do you think?
I embrace it a lot.
That's
I feel
awesome.
like why I am so passionate about what I do and the
Hmm.
business that we run is because I wanted to change everything that I hated about working for other people.
Hmm.
Yeah. And one big part of that is prioritizing people's personal lives because everybody has different things going on in life. And like, how can you expect everybody to clock in at the same time, clock out at the same time?
Hmm.
When, like some people gotta take their kids to school or go take care of their elderly parents or whatever the case may be. There's
Hmm.
so many different things going on. And I understand that's not the most efficient way to run a business because it makes more sense for people to work in groups and you get more done. Um, but I'm willing to make that sacrifice in my business so that people can prioritize their personal lives.
Yeah, and I mean, I, I, a little while ago, I've seen some of the operation. I'm not fully up to speed of what you guys are doing right now. I'm not entirely certain that it is even costing anything. I mean, I would, I will say this, that it is certainly possible that if you choose that as a design constraint, that you could design a wildly effective and efficient system that has that level of flexibility. It's just harder to do. And that's why they don't do it. It's not impossible. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me because I've met some of your folks. I've seen them working before. When we allow folks that level of agency, you frequently get far better results. So like I don't know. I appreciate that you're being honest, but I would just throw out there it might end up being more effective. That's all. Right. Yeah.
It's definitely more effective in the sense that we have much better uh what word am I looking for? Like retainment. Like people don't leave.
Well,
Like
morale and retention and
yeah,
yeah,
retention, that's the word I was looking for.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. And like when you just care about people, like they'll care about you. And if they care about you, they'll care about the business.
yeah.
And like it's not a super easy job. Like, yeah, it's not super difficult either, but
Yep.
there's tons of other jobs where maybe I shouldn't say this in public, but my team can leave and go find a easier job that pays them more.
Mhm.
But they believe in the business, they believe in what we're doing, and they're sticking around for the long term. And yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, you finally got a chance to meet another one of my buddies who's a friend of what we're doing here, Jeff Cos. And I think you guys have a lot in common. And you're two leaders that have chosen to put people first, not in some ethereal, idealistic way, but just as a design constraint that says, "Hey, we're going to challenge ourselves to put the people first, and then still run an effective, profitable business." Just because a lot of people don't do it doesn't mean it's impossible. So, yeah, no, I think that's yeah, that's really great. All right, so let's get back on track. When we last met, Michael, you were just crossing over from side hustle to full time. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, 2017, Starbucks
There you go.
had this program where they would build out community stores.
Mhm.
And these community stores were Starbucks cafes that were built in places that they normally wouldn't put a Starbucks, right? Because they do their due diligence and they look at all the numbers and they're like, yeah, this is a great place to put a Starbucks. And White Center was not one of those places at that
Mhm.
time, unfortunately. But these community stores were meant to be built in places like the White Centers of the world to help improve the community.
Mhm.
And they would hire, like people with maybe criminal records or people that normally wouldn't have opportunities to work at like a business like theirs. And so I remember Starbucks reaching out and was like, "Hey, can we have a meeting?" I'm like, "Oh, this is weird. Like Starbucks wants to have a meeting with us." And so we were like, "Yeah, yeah, come on by." And they were building that community store on the same block where we had our first location in White Center.
Hmm.
And so they came in and told us about what they're doing, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, we're all about like supporting local small businesses because we have this community store here, and we're gonna start carrying, like products from local manufacturers." I'm like, "Oh, great! It sounds like a wonderful program. Like, how many people are we up against to like get the spot?" And they're like, "Nobody. We just, we found you guys on social media. Your reviews look great. Your product's great. And we want to help you into the space where you can start working with us." And I remember it was such a heavy lift. It's so easy to get passed by like you get approval from health department, but to work with Starbucks, like that's a whole nother level, right? Like they're not just gonna be like carrying anything. And
Yeah.
so they had their like food person. I don't know his official title, but he was like this he was based in Seattle, but it was like nationwide going to all the different stores and checking the quality of all the
Mhm.
food and making sure that everything was up to code. And so he came in, looked at everything, told us what we needed to fix, the things that we needed to do so that Starbucks would be able to carry our product. And that was
Mhm.
in the summertime of 2017, I believe.
Mhm.
And so that's part of the reason why I left Boeing, because I was like, "Oh, I have this great opportunity now with Starbucks, but we can't do this if I'm working my full-time job."
Mhm.
Um, so I made the decision to leave Boeing to take on the business full time. And I was very fortunate that the area that I was working in at Boeing was not particularly great from a culture perspective. I
Mhm.
know there's tons of I have a tons of friends and family that work at Boeing that love it there, but
Mhm. Mhm.
it's such a big corporation, like
Yeah.
can't be perfect everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I remember looking around and I was just like, I don't want to do this for another 35 years. Like everybody seems miserable. Like
Mhm.
the job's easy. The hardest part about going to work was going to work, like getting
Mhm.
in your car and driving there and like not falling asleep and going home. I remember it was kind of tough because like you work at Boeing and like every year, I think every 6 months you get a raise, like a 50-cent raise. But at the 6 year mark, you get like this $15 raise, right? So it was like substantial. And I
Mhm.
just hit my 6 years.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I'm out. This is like this is it's not for me. Like I'm not fulfilled in any way with this
Mhm.
job. And yeah, it was tough to take like such a huge pay cut to take on the business full time and to not have benefits. But I
Mhm.
think I was fortunate because it was easier for me because I don't have a family. I don't have kids or anybody
Mhm.
like depending on me to get a paycheck.
Mhm.
And so I remember asking myself, like, like if I do this thing, what's the worst that can happen?
Mhm.
And I thought about it and I was like, well, if I do the business and it fails, I can just, even if I have to go back to a minimum wage job at the worst, that's not so bad. Like, why not take the risk? I'd rather do it and fail than to not do it and ask myself what if
Mhm.
as I get older. And so, yeah, made the decision to leave Boeing and start working with Starbucks, fix all the things that we needed to fix. And we launched in 7 surrounding Starbucks stores that holiday season. So around Christmas time,
Mhm.
we were delivering to about 7. And then the program lasted about like a year or two later, and we
Mhm.
were up to about 20, 25 stores.
Mhm.
And then they cut the program,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because it wasn't performing the way that they wanted it to perform. Not
Mhm.
not with us, but like the nationwide program that they had with other vendors and other
Mhm.
partners. So it was great, great opportunity. We can say that we've worked with Starbucks. We can say that, the way that we operate is at a level where we can
Mhm.
work with a company like Starbucks. So it's a great opportunity. It was
Mhm.
also a great opportunity because they sponsored us into the UW Small Business Growth Collaborative, which has now transitioned into the Ascend program. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's when I really started to learn how to run a business as a business and not just as like a mom and pop shop, just kind of learning by failing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
great opportunities. Big shout out to Starbucks for everything that they've done. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, especially you can remember with the stuff that they wanted you to change, was there ever anything that got you away from, your version of the Macadon, or was it all just more, sort of just, I'll say, standard quality upgrades or stuff? Was there any
Every
challenges trying to like hold the line of what you wanted to do, but then also obviously, and I, to be clear, I mean, I got a little bit of restaurant experience, as you know, too. I mean, all they're asking for, really, they weren't asking for anything other. They have a consistent quality product that they can put their name on, so they don't want you to kill anybody or get anybody sick, right? So they weren't asking anything crazy, I don't think. But as maybe your secret ingredient, your secret process or your recipe. So any great stories in that, sort of trying to make it fit? Because obviously it's massive pressure, right? It's not just somebody's like, "Hey, I think we should do it this way." Like you obviously want to hit the bullseye for Starbucks, but you don't want to lose your perfect Macadon.
Yeah, everything was just
Mhm.
standard cleanliness
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. But the one thing that was kind of a bummer was that these look very beautiful, right? Like they're so colorful and
Mhm.
delicious looking. And the thing that they didn't want was artificial coloring. And like can't get these kind of colors if you're using like natural colors. And
Uh-huh.
we did a ton of R&D with it. And we're like, okay, what natural colors can we use? They would look fine when we were making the batter, and the batter was bright and vibrant, and the colors look nice. And then we would bake it, and then the colors would just go away. And we're like, it doesn't look appetizing at all.
Uh-huh.
And so we have this white one here, which is our vanilla. And yeah, that one's fine. It doesn't have any color. It's just the normal color of like almond flour and egg whites and sugar.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but we didn't want to just have white macarons. I remember it was a coconut was the one that
Mhm.
we had at Starbucks. It was coconut and strawberry. And for the
Mhm.
strawberry one, since we couldn't put the color in there, we had to add the color after. So we made all the shells white, filled them with coconut, and then filled it with strawberry. And then we had to airbrush beet juice coloring on the ones that were going to be strawberry. And yeah, it kind of did the trick, but it didn't look very great at all. And so
Mhm.
those are the two flavors that we had at Starbucks for the whole time because we couldn't really differentiate other
Mhm.
flavors or have too much variety at each of their stores.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. It's just and I mean this with profound respect and genuine humility. I have absolutely no idea who listens to the show and what they're, I mean, I hope they get stuff out of it, but I think what you just described there is the reality of running a business. Like the you've got this incredible opportunity. They're not asking, the customer is not asking for something unethical or, like whatever. I mean, it's a fairly reasonable standard. But then it's like, well, how do we pull this off and then still like what we do? You know what I mean? Or like ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and that would not seem like that would be hard, but it obviously can be for sure. So, but that's I would have, yeah, holy smokes, beet juice, man. That's airbrushing beet juice. Like that's, and then the other part of that, and that's why I wanted to say that is listen to the amount of persistence and hustle to deliver. Right? I mean, it's like there's a lot of places there to quit or to figure something, you know what I mean, to say it's not meant to be or whatever. I did not know that story as I think you know, but there isn't anything in that story that doesn't surprise me about you. I mean, the details I would have known, I mean, but no, that's exactly the Michael I know. That smiling, super bright, smiling assassin that will just walk you down. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. All right,
Thanks.
so that worked for a year or two, and then what are some of the other moments as you're building and growing?
Hmm. Other moments. You know how they say don't go into business with like friends or family?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, same is true for significant others.
Uh-huh.
And being in a relationship with my co-founder, business partner was very challenging because it's work all the time. Like
Hmm.
anytime you're not working together, you're talking about work together, and there's a lot of stress and other things that come along with it. And
Hmm.
the relationship eventually didn't work out, and we tried to navigate through all of those problems because we both realized how much we both worked to get the business to where it was, and so
Hmm.
we tried to continue to make it work together. But after 2 years after breaking up, we decided that it made more sense for us to go our separate ways.
Hmm.
And so we did a buyout agreement, and I continued to run Macadons, and
Hmm.
Donna took over the lease at our original location, which is now called Puffy Pandy, which
Hmm.
is her cafe, her dessert cafe. And
Hmm.
then we relocated to downtown Renton in 2022.
Hmm.
But that transition time, because that was around 2019
Hmm.
when we did the buyout agreement.
Hmm.
And so since she took over the original cafe
Hmm.
in White Center, I moved into a commercial kitchen and focused more on wholesale and corporate orders, catering, and
Hmm.
events. And
Hmm.
so I was doing like the larger projects,
Hmm.
the bigger orders, and she was doing more of the direct to consumer
Hmm.
model. And it was
Hmm.
working great. We did that for a while, and it was like a licensing model
Hmm.
where she was still running the store as Macadons, and nobody like from the customer side really knew
Hmm.
anything different. And it worked out great, I would say. I think it was a good partnership because I was like doing all these things that was building the brand and getting our
Hmm.
name out there. And
Hmm.
then she was benefiting because then after people try it and they like it, they would go to the store because that's the only thing that they know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, we were doing that for a while, and that was fine. It was working out.
Hmm.
But I remember in 2022, she reached out and said she wanted to end the license agreement. And I was like, what do you want to do that? Like, I felt like this was working out. Like, you were getting all this benefit from like
Hmm.
us getting the product out, and customers don't come back. They're not repeat customers for me. Like, they are from like the larger order perspective, but like
Hmm.
they're going directly to you after they try our product.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like, if you want this agreement to end, that's totally fine. But then I remember talking to just a lot of like mentors and friends and other business owners, and I was like, man, we're gonna shut down our only brick and mortar retail location. And I remember talking to like some restaurant friends, and they were like, well, just shut it down and just be online only. And I was like, I don't want to be online only. Like, I don't want us to seem like we, like went from having a storefront to not being a storefront.
Hmm.
And, like 2022, that's like right after the pandemic, or like we're still going through all this stuff. And I was
Hmm.
like, no, I'm just going to open up a store. And then we found the spot in Renton, and everything was so expensive at that time because of all of the like shipping containers for like, I don't know,
Hmm.
like $20,000 to like get stuff over here. So like
Yeah.
materials were expensive. Um, like contractors were expensive. Like everything was so expensive, but we had to rush to get this thing done because there was like a few months where there was no Macadons in White Center
Hmm.
until until we were able to open up in Renton in September of 2022. Um, yeah, so that that was that. I don't know how I got to this story, but that's where we are now. So we just
Yeah, no,
celebrated
those
30
are
years at
the
our rental
moments.
location.
Yeah. Yeah. So you opened up Renton, and how I mean, obviously there was that period of time where you were licensing and doing all that, but prior, when you were still all under one umbrella, were you active on the retail side before? And obviously you said you had worked in some restaurants before and all that, but when you sort of quote unquote reopened in Renton, what was it like to get back out in front of I hear and can see that you wanted to have a real relationship, a face-to-face relationship with a market. But so what was it like to get back in front of that?
It was great. Like I'm so happy that we did it. The reason, the main reason why was when my co-founder was running the brick and mortar location at White Center. That was her vision of what the brand should be,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't mine,
Mm-hmm.
and it was wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that program that we did at UW,
Mm-hmm.
it was just me that did it because Donna kept her full-time job and she was still working and she didn't have the capacity to
Mm-hmm.
take those classes. And I remember going to those classes and like learning all these things, and I would take it back to her and I'd be like, hey, like I just learned the stuff. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
what we should be doing. This is our customer segment. This is what our customers look like. This is how we should change our brand. And she would just not agree because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't go through the program and she didn't see things the way that I was seeing them. And
Mm-hmm.
we were 50-50 partners.
Yeah,
And legally, from that legal standpoint, like we can't make a decision if we can't both agree on
sure.
which way to go. And so it just stopped any progress of the
Mm-hmm.
business growing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it caused a lot of issues. And then that was a big part of the reason to do the buyout agreement. To end the license agreement because she was running the Macadons storefront, which I didn't have a problem with. Like it was her vision, it was
Mm-hmm.
her store, so it's her vision of like what the look and feel should be like. But I remember I was like, hey, I'm gonna elevate the brand a little bit because I'm over here trying to talk to like big companies, like corporations, like Fortune 500 companies. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to like pitch them our product, but it's not really aligned with like our capability of what we can do when they go to our website or go to the storefront and it's like very cutesy and there's like stuffed animals and it just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look very polished and professional. Like I want to elevate the brand. And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what do you mean no? Like I own Macadons
Mm-hmm.
LLC. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna update the brand. And she's like, no, I want to keep the brand. And I was like, okay, maybe we can figure something out. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
about we you know, take the Starbucks model. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look at the Starbucks down on Pike Place. That was the original Starbucks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it has a very different look and feel from all the other Starbucks. Like, we can follow that same story. Like, this is our
Mm-hmm.
first location in White Center. You
Yeah.
can keep the branding the way that you want to keep it, and that's part of the story. Like, oh, Donna and
Mm-hmm.
Michael had this thing, and Donna's doing the storefront,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be like cute and whatever. And as Macadons continues to grow, like it just looks a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she didn't take that very well. And I think that was a big reason why she decided to reach out and say that she didn't want to continue with the license agreement that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if you come to Macadons in Renton and you go to Puffy Pandy in White Center, we both got to
Mm-hmm.
create our vision of what we wanted for our business. And
Mm-hmm.
they are two very different things. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. You know, like there's not one right answer. It's just like, how do you want to run it? Like, what's your vision for it? And so I am happy that we both get to have what we want now.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's the blessing and curse of sort of chasing that closer to right, your version of the perfect Macadon. I mean, if you extend that into the brand, the chances of two people seeing that the same way, it's not. I mean, it could happen, right? But no, I think that but ultimately that's, I mean, not that you need my vote of approval or whatever, but I think that someone either has to sacrifice their integrity and just go along, which is not going to work out in the long run, one way or another, or you just have to say, hey, look, this isn't personal. We need to split because our visions don't align, right? It's a fit thing. It's not a right or wrong. It's just there's no alignment there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that it has never been aligned.
Hmm.
I think what typically happens in like business relationships and maybe even like personal relationships is that at the beginning when people are getting together, they are very aligned in what they want.
Hmm.
But people grow, people change, and
Hmm.
like those visions start to veer off a little bit. And I
Yeah.
think that's what happened with us. And I was just like, oh, I'm learning all these things. And like, I
Hmm.
feel like this is what we need to kind of move towards. And she was like, no, I think we should move towards this way. And so that just like
Yeah.
pulled us apart.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you know, that I had a business partner. We, we didn't have that issue. Uh, Personal partnerships on whatever level and business partnerships, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that any of them ever work ever when you really think about it, you know. And I'm not trying to be cute or jaded or anything like that, but I mean, you just got two different people, and you just described it very eloquently. I mean, like none of us are the same that we were the day before. We think we are, we're not. We're different, right? And so if you have any success, meaning you stay in relationship for any period of time, you know, it's just like without some sort of constant realigning, I don't know how you would stay, you know what I mean? It just, unless somebody's just sort of on autopilot or something. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, that gets us almost to present day, right? So yeah. So what are some of the things that what are some of the things that you're in front of right now on the business front? And uh, you know, maybe I'll try to prompt you a little bit, not looking for an answer, but just to maybe tie it to a little bit of what we're talking about. Like where are you seeing where the closer to right, um, you know, letting people figure out their way? Maybe where is that showing up in wins, or where is that showing up in ways, not where it's bad, but just that where you're like, oh, I'm committed to making it work, but we haven't figured out how we do it yet or whatever. Any places that that's showing up?
We're all just figuring it out as we go along.
Hmm.
And I think maybe a lot of people look at Macadons and think that we have it all figured out. We don't. And I'm sure I look at a lot of businesses that are bigger than ours and think that they got to figure it out. But I'm
Hmm.
sure if I talk to the owner of that company, they'll be like, we're still figuring it out too. Yeah, we're still doing it and doing it the best we can and
Hmm.
letting people fail to figure it out. Um, but I think that's why I love what I do as well is
Hmm.
I see myself kind of more as a mentor or coach than a boss. And I
Hmm.
hate when my team calls me boss and they do it knowing that I hate it. But yeah, I think it's like giving people the opportunity to learn and grow and develop
Hmm.
as individuals. As a lot of my team is younger. I don't think we've had anybody join the Macadons teams thinking that oh, I'm working with Macadons because I want to like open up my own macaron shop or
Hmm.
bakery or anything. It's typically people that are just like, I don't know what I want to do.
Hmm.
And I resonate with that because that was me when I was
Hmm.
younger. And why it's so passionate or fulfilling for me to do what I do is I get to work with these people that I feel like felt the way that I felt, not knowing what they're good at or what they like to do. And so when I work with them, I get to see who they are, get to see
Hmm.
what they're good at. And then as the business continues to grow, I get to give them those opportunities to try those things out.
Hmm.
And yeah, sometimes we'll swing and we'll miss, and at least we gave it a shot and we figured out that
Hmm.
maybe that's not the right thing. That's
Hmm.
like we thought that that was something that you might enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
and we're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we'll do it and we'll be like, that's awesome. Like we figured out something that you really like that we didn't know, you know, that you would have liked that thing before. And so being able to help people figure out the thing that I struggled to figure out when I was younger is very fulfilling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where a lot of like passion comes in. Like no,
Sure.
like people don't know what they're passionate about, but it's typically things that they have struggled with in their life before, and they don't want other people to struggle with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'm not looking for a super hard, accurate number, but just your sort of best guess. So, of the folks that you guys have had join the team, and you got lots of people, and you've been around for a while, and all that. So, what do you think the percentages are of the people that you're attracting sort of fall into that category? Because, and I'll tell you where I'm going with it is you know how much I like you, and I believe everything that you're telling me because I've been around you and I've been around your business, but where I've been in business for a little while too, and my experience is there's a whole bunch of people actually that just want to be told exactly what to do, show up and leave. And that doesn't make them bad people, by the way, but that's not the person that you're describing. So what's your experience with that? And I'm not looking for super hard numbers, but is it the majority of the folks that you guys are attracting? And then what how to, how to, if there is any mix of that, then how are you dealing with all of that?
Hmm. I would say percentage is probably 70 to 80% of people that are coming in that
Hmm.
don't know what they want to do and are still trying to figure it out,
Hmm.
but want to figure it out. And maybe the 20% or
Hmm.
whatever is like people that are just like, yeah, just tell me what to do. This is just, I just want to
Hmm.
be here. I just want to do this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I don't really care to figure out anything more than that.
Mhm.
It's just a job. Um, what was the second part of your question?
Yeah. So, is there just is there any, how are you dealing with the two people? Maybe there isn't any issues that come up. I mean, the reason why I sort of ask is, a little bit about our story. We've been fortunate that most of our history is in fairly decent growth. And I've been more involved and less involved in bringing people on board. Never really like the guy that made the call, but I was usually had some line of sight on it. And I mean, I don't know how many times people say, "Oh yeah, I'm a growth person." Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Whoa, time out, time out." Just so you know, like I can guarantee you growth. So like before you tell me you're a growth person, like we're going to be bigger than we are right now, and we're much bigger than we were before. And like that means we're going to need you to grow. So just are you sure you want to grow? That's the part where I'm like, I don't know. So, but I think you told me something once before, and I want to tell what it is. And I believe you were telling me the truth. I'm not worried about that. But so how are people coming to you to join the team?
A lot of referrals.
Hmm.
You know, I think when people work in a place that they enjoy, um, they're happy to talk about it to their friends, to their family, to whoever. And then up until fairly recently, we've now had to like put out job postings and stuff. But before it was just like,
Hmm.
oh, cool, you know this person that wants to work on the team, and we
Hmm.
don't really have a position for them, but we'll bring them in, like if they're good people.
Hmm.
And that was that. You know, I think it was never really difficult to find people like that
Hmm.
to join the team. Yeah.
Yeah, so we call that pull. And that's a little bit of what I wanted to surface. And this is for my own learning, by the way. This is my own learning and my own remembering. Um, that as a leader, I think I'm going to spend more time. Yeah, we spend a decent amount of time on it now, but we'll spend more time on, do we feel comfortable that we're doing enough to make sure that the people that are on the team feel about what they do in a way that would be attractive for other people to say, gosh, I want to join the team, or whatever, right? And first of all, I think we have a lot more control over that than just like hoping that we get great candidates or we write sexy ad posts or whatever. But yeah, so thank you for that. And I um I had remembered that when you told me, but we had this little thing, COVID, and so we weren't even remotely hiring anybody. So it's like, oh, that's I should really remember that. And then we went like another year and a half without doing anything, and I think I forgot that along the way. So thank you for reminding me that that's probably the thing to uh, for me to watch, keep an eye on. So very cool.
Yeah, I want to bring up something.
Yeah.
It's not like even though we've had people come in like that, we've it's not always the right people, right? Like you're trying to find the right people, and we want to help people figure out what they're passionate about, help them grow as an individual,
Hmm.
but not everybody wants that. And
Hmm.
we had an idea about what our values were, but
Hmm.
at the time, like up until maybe like a year or two ago,
Hmm.
we never put it on paper.
Hmm.
And what I'm talking about is like the core values. And
Hmm.
it's so important in a business to have core values because we maybe made some not great hires. Not that they weren't great people, it's just they
Hmm.
didn't care about the things that we cared about.
Hmm.
And for the people that have been around for a long time, we knew that our values were aligned. We just didn't know on paper what those like how to write out those values. And so
Hmm.
when we did it, it made it so much easier to onboard people because you
Hmm.
get a very you let them know clearly like what kind of people you want in the organization, and they can
Hmm.
either subscribe to that or not.
Hmm.
And so it just works as like a filtering method
Hmm.
to get people in the door, and it helps now that we put out like job ads publicly.
Hmm. How was that process internally in terms of the other folks on the team that participated in sort of crafting that? What was there reluctance, enthusiasm? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. There's a lot there. As you know, we are in the same organization, the Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a great program for all
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, owners of
Hmm.
their businesses, and I would hope that everybody would like to join.
Hmm.
Um, but through doing through being part of this organization,
Hmm.
they really push us to use EOS, which is the
Hmm.
entrepreneurial operating system, and which we
No,
we
no
run.
direct linkage between the two, but just wildly adopted. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so we run our business on EOS, and part of
Hmm.
that is like building out the structure for your business.
Hmm.
Part of that building out that structure is doing your core values
Hmm.
and also having a leadership team. And
Hmm.
prior to doing EOS, it was like our one business, everybody does everything, everybody helps out with everything. And I thought that that was the best way to do it because it's like so much teamwork and everybody's like on the
Hmm.
same team working together. But after implementing EOS and having everybody in their like individual seats and who's responsible for what, it like freed up so much time for everybody because not everybody's working on everything at the same time. It's just like,
Hmm.
cool, we got a marketing thing. We know that that person's going to take care of that. We got a production thing. That person's taking care of that.
Yeah.
And so it really helped things. But when we were doing our core values with our leadership team, there's five of us. It was a great exercise because we knew what our core values were. We just didn't know how to write it out. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we did write it out. And our four core values are more focused on care and empathy,
Hmm.
compassion. The first one is be kind and love.
Hmm.
Our second one is pursue excellence.
Hmm.
Not being excellent, that's like
Hmm.
pursuit of excellence. Like we
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
try to
I
do
get it.
better if we
Yeah.
can every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Third one is be curious and continuously learn.
Hmm.
And the fourth one is make lasting impressions.
Hmm.
And that's currently where we are today in 2025. That's our core values. They might change a little bit in the
Hmm.
future, but I think it'll always be focused around care, compassion, love.
Hmm. Hmm. That's awesome. Super
And
cool.
like when we bring somebody in
Hmm.
and they don't care about those things. And that's clear for us to be like, hey, this probably isn't going to be a good fit. You're probably not going to enjoy it here because we're all
Yeah, it's
about
gonna be
hugs
super
and high fives.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It'll be
Yeah.
great for us because we're just gonna get a chance to love somebody else. But for you, it could pretty much suck.
You might not want to be loved. I don't know.
No, no, I was in a conversation the other day and we were talking about culture and there was a lot of valence and a lot of preference baked into the assumptions. And I was like, look, and I'm gonna use it was not I don't know how public this is, but this is all public record. I was like, look, I have profound respect for the Amazon culture. As a business leader, as a person who is responsible for culture, I have massive, profound respect. I'm in awe of their culture. I don't want it anywhere near my business at all. But as a
Yeah.
person who, like, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, they had someone attempt suicide in their corporate headquarters, and the CEO goes on public record. It's a tough place to work. Like, that's that's a culture. That's a culture. And the cool thing is, you said it filters. So it's like, hey, that's people. That's not what I want, but there are people, we met them, that's absolutely what they want. And that's what's fantastic about it, right? It's like, that's cool. You can go, you've got an idea about what you think work is or what you want to do or how you want to do it. And this is going to be a great environment for you to go just absolutely be wildly, wildly successful, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think it's more important that it's that obvious and that no one's surprised. And I'm not throwing any shade at anybody. I mean, I can't give Bezos a bigger compliment than I just have. Like, he didn't get arrested. You know what I mean? Like, that's our culture.
Yeah.
It's a
And there's no
tough
right or
place.
wrong. It's just
It's
what
a
you want to
tough
subscribe
place.
to.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm not, I don't, I think when it's publicly stated at that level, like, figure it out, man. Like, I mean, figure it out. They're on record. They're not, I would be throwing shade if they were claiming your core values, run, you know what I mean? Like then we could throw some shade at them. So no, I think it's really, really great. And it's great that it's so strong because it does help folks internally and externally figure it out because we all have to eat, right? And I mean that, like, we there's times when we're in places financially that it's like, gosh, we need to figure stuff out, but to have such a strong filter that can help sort of push back against all those other things. And you know I don't know how your folks do when they're interviewing or whatever, but frequently you like people, you know what I mean? So you're like, you said like they'd be great, like they'd be an awful fit, but like they're nice, right? So yeah, I think it's good to have a strong filter like that. That's fantastic. I'm under the impression there's a second location. Tell me a little about the second location and where that came from and what the thoughts are there.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a unique one because it's inside Lexus of Bellevue.
Mm-hmm.
It probably wouldn't have been like my first choice of like what direction to take this in
Mm-hmm.
because it sounds kind of weird being in a car dealership. And so when they reached out like a year ago, they were like, "Oh, hey, like we have this cafe space in our
Mm-hmm.
dealership. Like we want to make it nice for our customers that are coming in to buy cars or people that are getting their car serviced and they're stuck here for a few hours and we don't really have anything. Like, did you guys want to take over the cafe?" I was like, I don't know. But after having a few conversations with them and with my team, we figured it was a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very different from our cafe and rented. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same core products,
Mm-hmm.
same offerings. But people aren't just looking for desserts. They don't want macarons or ice cream. Yeah, we'll serve a decent amount of like coffee, tea, and specialty drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're noticing is that it's a lot of food. Like people want food options, and
Mm-hmm.
so now we're figuring out a food program, trying out different sandwiches or
Mm-hmm.
breakfast items,
Mm-hmm.
and the feedback has been great. so far.
Mhm.
And this kind of ties into like seeing what people are good at and giving them opportunities to try things. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's people on our team that are running that cafe and they get to be creative and kind of do
Mhm.
what they want and test things out. And if it fails, it fails. And if it succeeds, then awesome. But it's a great learning experience for all of us to just try new things.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm gonna ask a question that we might not put on the air, but I gotta scratch the itch, and I can't believe I haven't asked the question already, and I should have because I've obviously known about it. But um, so are they all paying customers? Is Lexus of Bellevue providing anything to the customers for free? And if so,
Yeah.
how are you
So
figuring that out? Like, what is that? Like, that's an interesting little twist.
yeah. Uh,
Can I see your your voucher or something? Like, I mean, holy shit. Like I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
Currently, what
Hmm.
they have and what they still continue to have at this point is a water station. It's a really nice one. You can choose different
Yeah,
flavorings. You can add,
yeah,
like
yeah.
carbonation. You can add vitamins. It's really cool. I use it all the time when I'm
Hmm.
there. They also have like this coffee, like big fancy coffee machine where you can choose your latte, mocha, espresso,
Hmm.
whatever. It's
Hmm.
just,
Hmm.
this automatic machine. Maybe not the best quality of coffee.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
not a big coffee drinker, so I'm
Hmm.
not the right person to ask. And then they have like this honesty market grab and go area where there's coolers where you have like sandwiches and
Hmm.
some other items, yogurt, energy drinks, chips.
Hmm.
I think the plan is for us to take over all of that so that they don't have to pay for that, right? That's a service that Lexus of Bellevue is paying for. It's like a different
Hmm.
company that comes in and manages all this stuff.
Hmm.
And it costs them a lot of money, but
Hmm.
also it's not a wonderful experience for
Hmm.
the customer. It's
Hmm.
better than nothing, but it's still like, oh, we're Lexus. Oh, you can just go back there and like
Hmm.
go buy a bag of chips if you're bored
Hmm.
waiting for your
Hmm.
car.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's why it made sense for Lexus to have that relationship with us because
Hmm.
now we're coming in and they want us to offer a complimentary coffee and tea option, which is fine. We can do like a very minimal offering for that. And then
Hmm.
anything above that, if people want more specialty drink, then we can charge
Hmm.
the customer
Hmm.
for that.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just a great benefit. Like it's a win-win for both of us because we got into a space for fairly cheap. Like they've already had the area there for a
Hmm.
cafe. So it's
Hmm.
not like we had to spend a ton of money building it out. Like, yeah, we had to
Hmm.
put in some money to make it look nice and kind of resemble Macadons, bring in
Hmm.
some equipment. Um, but it's a lot more economical than opening up another cafe like we have in Renton.
Hmm.
The other benefit is that they already have the space and they're not paying anything more for us to occupy the space. And
Hmm.
so, and they're not a real estate company, so they're not charging us to be there. And so
Hmm.
we're benefiting because we get to come into a space that doesn't cost a lot to build out
Hmm.
and very nominal if any rent. And
Hmm.
then they get the benefit because their employees and their customers have a place to go to enjoy good food and desserts and drinks.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. Super cool. Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's another one of those where, um, you know, definitely some more pull, uh, uh, when, um, when the outside world comes and says, "Are you interested?" Can you, when, you know me, I'm big on like, let them ask to be a customer.
Yeah. You got a lot more leverage when they're coming to you than when
Yeah, well,
you're
and if we focus on what's awesome, right? Like if we spend our time and energy there, I'm not surprised when people line up to say, "Hey, can we be a customer?" Like that's not surprising to me. But anyway, but that's it's great to hear. That's really cool to hear. I wasn't gonna tell this story because I've sold it too many times in front of you and way more behind your back. But I think it makes sense to do. So I didn't want to try when I met you, I did not want to try your Macron because I was not a fan of. of the form. But because you had printed my face on the one that was mine and other people's faces on theirs, along with other fun images that you had done, I felt I probably was going to have to eat one regardless because you brought them to where we were. But when you put my face on it, it was even harder not to. So, and then I was pleasantly surprised because it is not what it is. But where did that I mean, there's probably some Parisian French bakery chef that is rolling over in their grave somewhere that you printed on the pristine surface of a macaron. But like where did that come from? Tell me, what's the origin story to printing on macarons? Where did that come from? Or Macadons, excuse me. Yeah.
Um, Great question. I believe that every great idea has already been thought of,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, there was nobody doing it in our area,
Mm-hmm.
greater Seattle area, but it wasn't like nobody has ever printed on a Macron before we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we just did the research and found out that it was a possibility
Mm-hmm.
and that maybe other people were already printing on Macrons or were definitely printing on other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got the printer and tested it out, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of learning to go along with that. Our
Mm-hmm.
first prints were not nearly at the level of quality that
Mm-hmm.
we have now. And I do truly believe that we are the best that are doing it right now. And I think a big part of that is because of our care for quality.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be pretty dang precise. Because
So
when
remind
you
me of your first core value.
be kind and love,
Oh, sorry, there was a second one.
pursue excellence.
The third one was care and empathy, then I guess.
Yeah, be
Yeah, okay.
curious, continuously learn. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think I um blended them in my head because the one that I was thinking was the be maybe what you I think you were sort of setting up the core values when you said be kind and care. But your core value really is reflected in the aesthetic quality of the product. And I'm
Pursue
not going to throw
excellence.
shade. I'm not going to mention any other people's product, but I mean, you're not the only person doing it. I see them in lots of places. I have yet to see one look consistently the way if they have more than three out, they usually don't all look great.
Yeah, it's so common. And I think a lot of times when people aren't so involved in it, they don't really pay attention to those kind of things.
Hmm.
But like when we have people join our team and we tell them like this is our level of quality that we need,
Hmm.
they'll go out and see all these other places and they're like, the stuff that we consider rejects that we would not put on our shelf are the things that people are just selling every day or at the same
100%.
cost and maybe sometimes more than what we're selling it for.
Yeah.
And part of
So
that
the
is necessity
mm,
because we print on 12 macrons at the same time.
mm,
If they're not the same diameter, not a huge deal. It does look a little bit different when you print the same logo on the same one and one's bigger and one looks smaller, but it's the same print because the cookie's either bigger or smaller. But the main thing is they have to be the same thickness. Because when you're
mm,
printing 12, they're all coming out on the same tray being printed. Like it doesn't touch it. It just
mm,
sprays it on there. And if you're close, it'll look nice. But if you're further away, then it's more distance for the spray, and then the
mm.
print
The
isn't going to come
splatter,
out
splatter.
clear. Yeah, it's going to be blurry. And so
Unless you're doing a Jackson Pollock.
but it's so important for us to have the same size macarons
Mhm.
that when we are filling our macarons, we use a micrometer to like measure the thickness of all like yeah, little calipers to measure the
Mm.
thickness of each macaron.
Mm.
Because just the small difference of like thickness can affect the quality of the frame.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, what I think is interesting is I think it's unbelievably difficult to establish and find that standard. But if you can, I think the benefit of being able to do that, because it's just way easier to just keep everybody locked in on everything because, whether we talk about our mutual friends that we know, but like in our business, like I mean, I for years I was like, we don't do delivery spreads. I don't give a shit. Like the customer can ask for, 12 to 4. We're going to show up at 12:15. Like we're like, you can't track 12 to 4.
Mhm.
Like we don't do time spreads. Like we don't do time. The world can think what we're doing whatever we want. I don't care. We don't do time spreads. Like right, everything, and there's only two times. You're either on time or you're late. Like there's no right. So I think it's very, very difficult to hold that. But the benefit is then you can get that consistency. And some of this I've heard you tell me before, some of it's new, but none of it is surprising. And none of it's surprising because I've seen the product I've seen the product consistently. And it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. And that's why it looks so much better. And I I I, I am, me, I'm a sugar fiend. Like I have a sweet tooth or whatever. But it shouldn't make a difference to a guy like me. I mean, I'll eat M&Ms. Like it doesn't, what I mean? Like it doesn't matter, but it actually does. It does matter, right? I mean, so yours, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of your product. You know that. I don't care. It's not an infomercial. Anybody that's ever met me knows how I wouldn't I wouldn't say that for any other reason other than it being true. Um, but I don't know that ultimately impacts how I feel about it when I eat it. I can tell you 100% it it registers with how I look at it, you know. And I just wonder how many times and places it has me thinking, where are we not holding that standard that probably other people don't necessarily care about that we need to hold just so we can stay, uh, you know, we need to have your level of precision because we're not big enough to be bad. You know what I mean? Like we have to be really good at what we do because we're not as big as FedEx. I mean, it's like, look, man, like we don't really have a choice.
Sorry, one more point on
Yeah,
that
yeah, please.
whole quality thing is that I think like oftentimes when we scale, when we grow, we, as in the world,
Yes.
society, we tend to make sacrifices, right? And it's like people will sacrifice their quality because they need to make more product and they need to scale. And we ran into that issue too. And we invested tens of thousands of dollars into equipment that we tried to bring in to automate to help our team out with the manual labor of making macarons. And what we've learned is that we still have to do it by hand to get this level of quality product because we
Mhm.
bought all this expensive equipment so that we can make more, so that it's easier. And we just found out that, the machine does what it was built to do. It puts out the same amount of product every time. And so we're like, of course, why would the product not be consistent every
Mhm.
time? Like that's more dialed in than a human being can be doing one at a
Mhm.
time. But the problem with macarons is they're so finicky and you have to mix them this perfect amount. And if you
Mhm.
overmix them, they're too runny. If you undermix them, they're too stiff.
Mhm.
And that will determine the size and the thickness of the shell.
Mhm.
And so yeah, you'll run it in this, you'll put a big batch into the machine and the machine will do its thing. And some of them, like a certain percentage of them will turn out good. And then the rest of them are like either too too thick or too flat. And we can't have those differences in our product, because not only will it change the thickness of the final product and we're printing on them, but it'll change the texture of how it bakes and all this stuff. And so it's been a hard learning lesson and a lot of wasted money to try these things, but I'm glad that we tried it so that we know. But to this day, we still hand pipe every single macaron, and yeah, this is part of what we do. And I think people seeing how perfect it is, I think maybe people have the perception that it is made in a machine versus by hand, because how can it be so perfect, right? But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, no, well, it's good to hear, something that I've learned multiple times, mostly on the sort of the funner side of learning. But yeah, no, I especially when it comes to it, I think when it's not a product that people eat, people don't realize that there's still the same potential standard to be held, because taste is so instantaneous, or texture, right? Like it's just like, you don't have to be a world-class expert to go like these two things are not the same. But there's no question that it's almost always in chasing of scale that gets watered down. And what's interesting about you, and what's interesting about most of the other people that I know that we've had around this show, is they just don't change their standards and they don't change their sequence. And so in your case, what I would say is you're still putting people first. You've gotten bigger, but people are still first. It's in your core values. And in the core values is also, we're pursuing excellence. We're not pursuing scale. we're not, so to me that's frequently where it gets disconnected. It's like, right. And I, if somebody wants to figure out who we're talking about, I think it's on my LinkedIn profile, so you can figure it out. But the people that I was working with are no longer, that I worked with back in the day, or even, they're not even anywhere associated with the brand anymore. It's the few stores that are left to somebody else. But I was part of a restaurant growth, a handful of units and then dozens of units. And I was right in the middle of all of it. And we went to scale the protein, like the protein. And we took it down, and there was this incredible commercial kitchen down in Portland, and they 5,000-pound batches, and they flash freeze it. I mean, it's a scientific and chemically, it was an amazing feat of science. And then they brought it up. It's shelf life for 6 months. I mean, all the wins all over the place, right? So they bring it, and one of the guy, I was not an owner, but there was 3 owners, and I was like the number one guy. And so one of the owners had like done all the legwork on it. He was super excited, and so when he had it, I took the first bite. I was like, it tastes like shit. And they knew I was the guy that was like I mean, I was not even a person that was pushing back. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it tastes like shit, man. Like, I'm rooting for you. Like, we got to fix it. None of this will matter if our burritos don't taste good. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, this is not like this part we have to get right. And you would think, and burritos are silly. Somebody out there could be just saying, hey, they're just macarons or whatever. But there are people that, quote unquote, maybe in this moment, some people, there might be other brands in your business that are bigger or whatever, that are perfectly comfortable putting out those macarons that they look like someone was handling them, or you know what I mean? It's like, oh well, somebody obviously dropped the box, right? Or whatever has happened, right? And I'm not really sure why we don't still care at that level. And I don't even know where I'm going, but I'm just going to finish where I'm going. I should do some internet Google search to figure out exactly where I was in Italy. But I was at some cathedral somewhere in Italy, and it was, hundreds of years old. And we got to tour, and we got to see the roof. We got onto the roof legally. It was part of the tour. And the artesian craft work that was on the roof was off the charts. And this, I think it was in Florence or whatever. It was still one of the tallest buildings in the area. But when they built it, it was 3 times taller than any other building that had been built. And the tour guide said, this is because God is looking at it. Now, I don't care if you're religious or not. They were just artisans that gave a shit. And that's part of what makes, you don't have to care. It's just the problem is you won't really care about what you're doing, which means it'll sound a little bit like that job that you left to go chase the Starbucks business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes me think about what you said earlier. Like maybe they're just too big to care. It's because if the money's already rolling in, like why do I need to make it look good if everybody's buying them when they look like shit?
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think you're probably right. And look, you know me well enough to know, I just hope it's an intentional decision. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to think the way I think. I just hope they're aware of it and they're like, no, it's good enough.
I
Michael's
think
over there crushing the pretty ones. We just make the good enough ones.
no, I think it is a lot of times intentional decisions. And that intentional decision is usually based on profit.
Mhm.
I'm not saying if I agree or disagree or I don't know. Like maybe I have to make the decision at some point to say like this doesn't make sense financially for us to make it look this pretty. Maybe we need to cut back on how pretty they look so that we can actually make some money in this business. And I don't know, like I'm not there yet, and I
Mhm.
hope that I don't ever need to get there.
Mhm.
Um, but that's just what it is. And that's
Well,
partly like why I want to bring on any investors, right? Like
mm,
the moment you bring in outside money, why are they coming into your business? They want to make money, right? They
mm,
don't do they care that it's gonna look beautiful? Probably
mm,
not, unless it makes more money. But
mm.
at the end of the day, like they're investing into your business to make more money. And like I want to be able to control those decisions on my own.
Yeah. No, and I would, you know, that I'm in full support of whatever you decide to do. Because at some point in the future, in my future, we're still buds and we're still talking. So in the future, you might decide to do something different. And if you do, I'm 100% on your side. What I have chosen to do and what I hope I personally, for me only, what I continue to hope personally to is just to me, it's a design constraint I'm not willing to take out. Like there's a whole bunch of rules that are not negotiable. Like we're not going to break the law. We're not. So I'm just like, we just have to figure it out. Either that, or it just doesn't make. Then we just won't do it. Like I mean, it's a design constraint that it's a non-negotiable for me. It
Yeah.
makes it harder to figure out, but I want the thing that we have when we're done. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So I'm on your side, and I'm definitely on your side of you making your calls for what you want. But um, we figure out all sorts of other things that we tell ourselves are not negotiable, and I'm like, those are actually probably as negotiable as the rest. There's very few actual non-negotiables because you can even break the law if you want. I wouldn't suggest it, but you could.
That's what I was gonna say. I was
I
like,
know that's what
I'm surprised you're against breaking the law.
yeah, I know exactly. You're like, I've heard you. I know you a little better than that. It's been a minute, but
Did a background check before I came in
yeah,
here just to make sure I
yeah.
was coming in a safe space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So no, I think but that's a little bit um that I just like to throw out there is we are actually making decisions about what is and isn't negotiable. And look, we both know some people. We've never compared these notes, but I bet you if we did, we could come up with more than 5 people, men and women, um, that they and these are honest, ethical, honorable people. And much like Mr. Bezos, they're if you listen to what they say, you'll know where they stand. Um, but it's non-negotiable for them not to be profitable.
Yeah.
Like I know other business people, they're like, there is no way we don't post profit. I just cut expense until we find profit. I'm like, one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm gonna leave it super, super, super generic because I don't want to throw any shade. If you lined up 100 people and you you asked them to pick their favorite between me and this other person, it'd probably be 98 to 2, maybe 99. I get a couple votes, I think, and I would agree with them. But I knew this person well enough. This person did not view employees as people. This is like, wow, holy shit. If you listen to them, it was obvious. I will tell you, I wasn't thinking of that, but I know a couple women that are maybe even, in fact, maybe the most ruthless person when you think about that was actually that I know was a woman, quite frankly. I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it has to do with how competitive a person is and then what they think the score is. And for folks that put money first, which I don't think is put whatever you want first, but if you put money first, then people are definitely not going, people eventually will be caught in the crosshairs.
Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Work. If something resonated, share the episode and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, clarity isn't something you find, it's something you practice. And getting paid to practice life beats working to get paid.